Okay, it should be working. It should, and as in I hope it's working. Oh, oh, okay, it's working. Okay, it's working. OMG, it's working. New timeout links. Yo. Oh yeah. Okay. Pin this message. Oh hi Cosmic Nova. Okay. Okay. Hold on, I gotta make it where I can see my messages and everything. Hold on, just popped up my notifications. Oh dang, YouTube's actually doing notifications for me? Whoa, that's crazy, bro. I never thought that would be a thing. Okay, disable sounds. Good. Okay. We're going to be reacting to one of the biggest PVZ Demise videos. I did hear there's other content creators a part of this too, which I think that's super cool. I'll try to stay as long as I can. Well, don't stay up too long where you're going to get in trouble, you know. We don't want that happening. So, yeah. Well, let's see.
I aim to ask the question, why? How did we go from greatness to absolute sorrow and misery? How could we have experienced such legendary titles to being dealt cards that resulted in absolute flanderization, soulless experiences, and most depressingly, a lack of any change to come? Plants vs. Zombies needs no introduction. The 2009 Tower Defense Classic introduced a whole cast of fun and soon-to-be iconic characters to the world. Designer George Fan, artist Rich Warner, programmer Todd Semple, and composer Laura Shigihara spent years crafting a meticulously fine-tuned experience. The result was an incredibly polished, lovable, and fun shake-up to the tower defense genre. The game would garner critical acclaim across the board, skyrocketing PopCap's success. Plants vs. Zombies, in conjunction with previous hits such as Bookworm Adventures, Peggle, and Bejeweled, cemented PopCap as the king of casual. Plants vs. Zombies went on to blossom a whole franchise consisting of sequels and spin-offs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have not done one of these before. Yeah, I did not know they did Peggle and all that stuff.
That grew the brand. However, PopCap is rarely discussed today, and those within the greater Plants vs. Zombies circle seem to doom and gloom about the future of this franchise. How did such an iconic title fall so far into obscurity among the public? I'm not the only person who feels this way.
The original PVZ is one of those games, if you get what I'm...
We have a new voice? Who's this?
It's charming, unforgettable, and brimming with a crap load of personality.
Who's this guy?
There aren't many series that have managed to gain the cult following that PVZ has. There's a reason why the player count on Steam is still this high after all these years. PopCap was on the top of their game, even after EA bought them, years after their breakout hit. But recently, they've been going down a questionable path. So, what happened?
Garden Warfare was special to a lot of people.
Yo, we got Wolfie Blaze!
It paid off, creating one of the most unique and fun shooters out there, perfectly translating the PvZ characters into a kind of goofy but well-made experience. Garden Warfare 2 would build on the formula, expanding the game in pretty much every way. New classes, variants, game modes, just about everything. So what happened?
How did a company come crashing down despite
I like how they don't talk about BFN
at all? How did a game
all?
Franchise so beloved, so sentimentalized, become a cesspool of
it's so sad,
greed?
yeah.
Why did an enormous
it is quite sad. Honestly, I don't feel like BFN should deserve all the hate. Like, it's still a great game itself. It's just, people just got really mad over how it was different. So, I kind of, yeah, I hate seeing it go down this path. Yeah, they could just be updating Garden Warfare 2, make a bunch of money, and make it Garden Warfare 3 and give what everyone wants, and go down that same path. But they just now just close their studios, work on something that we see literally hundreds of thousands of people not wanting, and let's make it into a reality. What's the pea shooter costume doing? Bro, he's just emoting. You got a problem with it?
Community come crashing and burning, outraged and confused. This is the tragic demise of Plants vs. Zombies.
Dang, that looks pretty good. Now this guy, he also made another complaint one.
Zombies video.
EA's grubby mittens take over and run it into
Oh
the
no.
shitter.
The way to separate this one from the other two is that this one is bad.
Okay. I swear, a lot of these Demise ones that they're showing right now, all the Demise ones, I swear they aren't made well. And there's so many complaints about them, or stuff they say that isn't true about BFN, which it triggers me.
You must have heard something that goes along the lines of,
EA ruined PVZ 2.
And here's what it looks like now.
It's kind of disappointed with the as good as most
Not the beak! Not the beak!
things like you don't even get to pick your plants anymore. What is that all?
Oh yeah, he was breakdancing. My bad. Commercial? How long? How long was it for a commercial? 3 minutes! 3 minutes in a gay commercial. YouTube's outrageous.
The original Plants vs. Zombies is a masterpiece. I don't care what any contrarians think. This game is beautiful. The design of this game is masterful. So much attention to detail went into the littlest of things. I highly recommend you listen to George Fans' 2012 GDC talk. He goes over the design process in making Plants vs. Zombies and how difficult it can be to make a casual game easy to understand for a non-gamer while not being too hand-holdy for experienced gamers. I'll pose a question. Did you think the tutorial to Plants vs. Zombies was too slow or overbearing? What you might be thinking right now is, what tutorial? Plants vs. Zombies doesn't have a traditional tutorial. Instead, it's built into the gameplay seamlessly. The lanes you're allowed to plant on is 1 before expanding through the first few levels. You learn that keeping a consistent sun economy is essential because how the game prompts you in the right ways to place down enough sunflowers. Since the player starts with 50 sun, it's the only thing they can plant here in level 2. More lanes unlock. Guys, the shovel! And even as the game progresses, it's
I'm gonna be honest, I've never played PVZ 1. Well, I've played it maybe up to the 5th level, but that's it. I've never actually played it. I played every other game. I played the card games. I played the fan games. I played the shooters, but I haven't even finished or haven't even gone to the nighttime level of Plants vs. Zombies 1. Oh, come on.
It still finds a way to introduce new things. It adds the almanac, the shop, the Zen garden. One of the more famous examples of elegant design is
there's a
plants'
DS
names.
version.
Most
That's
plants
cool.
in this game have a design or name that
Yo,
easily
Fire
communicates their
Dragon.
function. Squash is the most
What's the
straightforward
point of
example.
doing
It both
that,
describes
Fire
what
Dragon?
it is and what it does. Walnut is another excellent example, acting as one of the game's stalling plants by acting as a wall, and it's a I think you get it. But with all that being said, what is so compelling gameplay-wise about Plants vs. Zombies? This game constantly introduces new mechanics to you, and I'm not just talking about basic things like the almanac or the shop. After each level, you unlock a new plant. There's a sense of discovery and excitement about the next plant. What does it look like? What does it do? Every 2 levels, a new zombie is introduced. The level design...
To be honest, the tower defense games are kind of mid. Yeah. Honestly, I think PVZ 2 is way better than PVZ 1. I don't care about the transactions at all. I don't really care about it that much. Although it's kind of sucky how you have to pay for most of the other plants, or they aren't making any more worlds. So that's why I primarily like to do fan games. So, yeah.
Design is pretty tame. The zombie combinations don't get very bold or wild, but for the few times a level brings something back unexpectedly, it keeps things exciting. Looking at you, 4-2, and bringing back football in the fog. Wait, fog! All of the different lawns the campaign
fog.
takes place over have their gimmicks that are great. Even fog.
What did I just say? Yeah, I said PVZ2 is better than PVZ1. Deal with it. I got rid of it because my brother deleted my data twice. First time was on accident, the second time on purpose. I got so far on it. Well, you better teach your brother a lesson next time. Hold on, don't know if you do it, but like you know, you can't. You gotta make sure that doesn't happen again. You know.
Guys, I said it. I like fog. Please don't judge. When you finish the adventure mode, a whole barrage of post-game content is available to play. Minigames put a fun twist on the traditional gameplay loop, whether it be invisible zombies, portals, or a slot machine. They all provide a pretty different experience than what's offered in the adventure mode. Drifting farther away from the adventure mode, the puzzle levels are a completely different experience. Both Vasebreaker and iZombie act similarly to an utterly separate game mode. Vasebreaker requires you to break vases. You probably could have guessed that one on your own. The vases are randomly assorted with plants and zombies. You can either take your time or open them all at once. Both are completely valid strategies. And iZombie flips the script by having the player play as the zombies.
Oh my gosh.
This is fun. And finally, survivals, an opportunity to build up your defense through multiple gauntlets of zombies. This mode acts as a final test, culminating in building up whatever defense the player desires. The other
Fire, do not correct. Oh wait, I thought you're correcting Cosmic Nova. I was about to slander you. Oh, he can't talk. He needs Fire Dragon. I didn't know you needed special needs.
thing this game has is simply the charm oozing out of it. The creativity in both the plant and zombie designs is outstanding. I mean, they're not all winners. What the hell is this supposed to be?
Yeah, what
we
is
have
that?
Zombies riding pogo sticks, seaweed that kills you, a zombie holding a screen door. Where did he get the screen door? And the music. Laura Shigihara went all out with this soundtrack. Have you listened to Graze the Roof?
Oh, what is this? What is this? It was 3 minutes. Am I going to get one every 3 minutes? Is this what's happening? Also, I will say, I remember hearing a story of like how his name is her name Laura, or Laura Shahani. I'm keep forgetting her name, but she like. There was a story she had where, like, to, like, get the sound effect of the butter, like, she threw butter at one of the directors of PVZ2 to get the butter sound effect splatting onto the zombie. But PVZ OSD,
It's really easy to understand why Plants vs. Zombies became such a massive hit. It's goofy, playful, exhilarating, and most importantly, fun. Especially once
like
PopCap threw it on mobile, everybody and their grandmother was downloading Plants vs. Zombies. After the first game's success, PopCap would begin to work on sequels, which wasn't
I
common
know.
for them.
We're going to be here for a bit.
A handful of PopCap games already had sequels, but Plants vs. Zombies was a top priority, and
I may even have to go in like 2 hours, so we're going to just see how long we could get through.
in May 2013, PopCap would release the first official follow-up, a Plants vs. Zombies Facebook game. Wait, what?
Oh my gosh, what? I've heard about this.
Plants vs. Zombies Adventures is technically the second game in the franchise. Well, This is awkward. Talking about PVZ Adventures is weird, considering the game shut down nearly a decade ago. So
There's
next
like
time you scroll through
you
YouTube
can make
and
games
see a
on
PVZ
Facebook?
Adventures review, how can it be a review? You can't even play the game! PVZ Adventures was a Facebook gaming tie-in game that was more of a social game akin to Farmville. For the first follow-up, it seems weird that they would strip away what made the original stand out from the other tower defense
Balloons
games,
tower
going from
defense?
lanes to your standard linear path system. In an exclusive interview with The Verge, the executive producer had this to say.
Figuring out a core
Do you think it was fun, Cosmic Nova?
combat that would allow players to defend their towns in interesting ways, while also being an enjoyable standalone experience, took a lot of iteration. We prototyped 11 different variants of combat. Some were very traditional, path-based tower defenses where the zombies did not attack the plants, but we felt this lost some of the appeal of the original game. Kurt Barrington, executive producer on PVZ Adventures, The Verge.
I appreciate the effort to make this game more aligned with the original.
Bro,
the
those
zombies being able to eat
animations.
the plants and then having plants
What are
revive
those
does differentiate
animations?
things alongside more minor gameplay changes. I will give the game this. The creativity is definitely not lost. There are plenty of new plant and zombie designs. The asparagus acts as a slower yet longer ranged pea shooter. The rock
You're giving credit to this game, but when we talk about Battle for Neighborville, a game that has twice more content, more work into it, you slander it to the ground. Okay. At first, what I had to update, which never did for me.
Rocket Zombie neglects nearby plants and has fast movement speed. DJ Zombie
I've heard
is
more
a tanky threat
positive
with
things.
a lot going on design.
I've heard more positive things from this, like, from a review. More positive things from an awful game compared to BFN.
Wise. It feels very on brand with the wacky designs of the first game. However, plenty of concepts don't carry over. For example, did you know this is the only Plants vs. Zombies game not to have Flag Zombie? Alright, I changed my mind. 0 out of 10 game. Something I don't hear discussed
thank
at all
you.
when talking about this game is both the art style and music. Art style wise, it goes for an isometric perspective paired with 2D art, drawn to convey roundness or depth. I think this game looks great. Many iconic characters, Pea Shooter, Sunflower, and Walnut, all retain similar charm as the first game. The zombies look pretty good, though their heads are a bit big, which reminds me of
They
the
look
zombies from
like bottlehead.
PVZ1 on mobile. Oh, gee god. Music-wise, guys, it's good. Like, really good. If we're talking about a soundtrack that perfectly respects and pairs well with the first game, this is a 10 out of 10. I'm not saying it's the best or even my favorite, but I have the most respect for it compared to every other PVZ game that followed the original in the soundtrack department. It sounds different, yet completely on brand. I think it has to do with the use of bowed string instruments. Have a listen.
Hey, sounds good. What's going on here? We're watching the Biggest Demise video. You know those videos that basically pour hate on, like, they go like, ah yes, Garden Warfare 2, best game ever. PVZ, best game ever. Battle for Neighborville, it sucks so bad I won't even talk about it. Moving on, that's how the game was ruined. We're watching one of those videos, but apparently this is more in-depth and like more like they're going apparently like people are saying like, oh, this game's gonna go like, it ain't gonna all hate on it. And this is a pretty big video. It got like 20,000 views in on 7 hours. So I'm assuming this is gonna be a big one. So we're gonna be reacting to it this stream.
If you haven't listened to the songs in this game, they are a total gem and should be brought up more regarding this franchise. Stan Lepard, why couldn't they bring you back? I would like to give a personal recognition to Stan Lepard, as he sadly passed away in early 2021. You will be missed. Now, the fate of
Rest
this
in
game
peace.
is something I've already mentioned quite a few times. The shutdown. PVZ Adventures' servers were closed about a year after it came out. This didn't come out of left field, considering the update cycle for this game was consistent until a sudden drop-off in September 2013, just about 4 months after launch. Digging deeper, we can find evidence to suggest this was not the original plan. In the Verge article I cited a little bit ago, the creative director mentions that they have many plans to continue improving and adding to the game. The easiest explanation to me would be, PVZ2 came out pretty soon after
PVZ2!
like 2 months after. And I assume the manpower working on PVZ Adventures was much more desirable for PVZ2. While it's hard to tell how well the game did, it was a social Facebook game that wasn't getting a lot of buzz, unlike the official sequel. So stopping all future updates and shutting it down was not surprising in retrospect. The final thing to mention is that this game had microtransactions. Now since this is a Facebook game,
honestly, I don't get why people get fed up with microtransactions. Like, sure, it stops you, but as long as there's so much to do that isn't like behind, like if there's like tons of stuff to do without transactions, and transactions like gives you more content or it doesn't take up all the content, like I'm absolutely okay with it. Some people just make it like a really big deal.
the way this game utilized monetization is through a means of time. Similar to games like, this is a reoccurring theme, the plants you use during the levels take time to grow. And sure, some of the waiting times weren't that bad, but with all these games, Clash of Clans is another easy example, the time component is almost non-existent initially. Before the
yes, I can see it when you click on the confetti emoji.
The game slowly ramps it up by making future and better plants take longer to grow, encouraging people to, you know. The other way this game was monetized was through VIP plants. These were just better versions of existing plants. Who could forget the iconic bee shooter? It's hard for me to classify this all as pay to win as well. I can't play the game. I don't know how hard some of these levels got without playing them, though I'm gonna take a wild guess and say at some point the levels got ungodly hard at a certain point. The topic of microtransactions will come up when we talk about their most controversial use, appearing in PVZ2. We're gonna talk about PVZ2 right now, aren't we?
Access means going from dreaming.
Oh no, they're going to be shaming leveling up. They're going to be shaming it. I will be honest, I don't care about the leveling up, but the fact that you have, it kind of ruins the game if you make it easier. See you later. Okay, we will see you later, Fire Dragon. I hope you have a good nappy poo. Anyways, kind of just leveling up your plants kind of makes the game feel unfun anymore. But yeah. Plants vs. Zombies 2.
YouTube user No Named, when recording his playthrough of the console editions of Plants vs. Zombies, had this to say about PVZ2.
I'm also disappointed in Plants vs. Zombies 2. They really fucked up Plants vs. Zombies 2 to make it more of a cash grab.
Thank you, No Named, for stating your opinion on PVZ2 so I can use it as a transition into my point.
Yo, bro just searched the internet to find someone that would agree with him. Like, there's tons of other videos, but why search up a random guy? Like, props to him for getting some attraction, but is there something? I feel like something sus is happening.
Plants vs. Zombies 2 is a divisive game. I'd argue this game is even more controversial than Battle for Neighborville, which was generally accepted to be, at the very least, worse than Garden Warfare 2. Though die-hard Battle for Neighborville,
it is not the worst game.
Supporters do exist. We will never be able to see eye to eye. So,
you know, okay. Excuse me.
Oh, I must address the elephant in the room before diving into PVZ2. This game is a bit awkward for me to talk about because
after your favorite part, Flaming Wolf, you got a problem. Beef and Well, there's going to be one more video. Oh, a new video title when I trim this down. Live reaction of me dissing on this guy for trying to, like, basically just slandering him for, like, saying, oh, BFN's bad. That I'm gonna upload, which will be uploaded on the 25th of December, and there will be some questions and answers on the video on January 1st. Wait, what? Oh, wait. And nowadays, I simply to find noobs that I can upload to my channel. I'll be offended. There's gonna be one more video. Probably took 6 hours. I'm gonna have fun. Okay.
Because of my video on Project Eclipse. I'll discuss my Eclipse video and the whole community later, but unlike the other games where I just talk about what they include and why they were unique or different, talking about PVZ2 will be an exception. This is actually a video inside of a video titled Danarade Reviews Plants vs. Zombies 2 so people stop assuming what he thinks about the game. That's probably too long of a title. And yes, I did go through the effort of playing the entirety of PVZ2. This is not me recalling my experience. This is what I genuinely think about the game today. The things I do for you people, this was a very painful experience. You try playing PVZ2 in 1 week. Yes, I'm going to give you the full, juicy Danarade opinion, but this is important because a lot of this information I'll be talking about will be brought up or referenced. This game is like one of 2 inflection points in the series. We'll get to the second one here eventually, but before diving into the game, let's start.
He's making me mad.
They had been struggling for an entire year, just spinning their wheels. We began with evolving the visual style, which was contentious and controversial. Everybody owes the credit of that to Rich, who created the art for that game. And he was not involved in this new version of the game, and George Fan wanted to be left alone to create his new game, which was all totally understandable. So, this gave the PVZ2 team, though, the impression that they didn't really have the full support from the originators of the game. I don't want to be unfair about that, like they would pitch in and they would jump on call, or they would help out, or whatever, but they really wanted some space from this thing that had probably just gotten kinda overwhelming for them. Matt Johnston, original producer of Plants vs. Zombies 2.
With a completely new team and direction, how do you continue off the massively successful and masterful Plants vs. Zombies? Future producer Alan Murray, in an interview with GamesBeat, had this to say.
I mean, we went back and looked at the core design, like just the core combat of plants fighting zombies. We actually spent some time actually thinking about the name. It's Plants vs. Zombies. So how do we make the versus as fun as possible?
So already, PVZ...
Yes, they're thinking about it. Making immersive. BFN is not bad. Yes, BFN is not bad. BFN is kind of not popular anymore. True. Probably because of the toxicity. If we remove all the people making toxicity videos, we'd have less toxic players. Since toxic players, they want attention. Having toxic players or toxic YouTubers makes more toxic players. Simple. It's still a handful of people playing BFN, as people now have been beginning to lose interest in it. That's what I've predicted last year. Yeah. Well, I want to try to keep it alive as I can, so I'm making videos on BFN much as I can.
PVZ2 had a rocky road with a completely new team that had to really understand what made the
even though I've been playing BFN since the start, same here. I'll let you cook. What are you about to say?
original tick with people. But in July 2013, Plants vs. Zombies 2 would launch exclusively on iOS devices. For this playthrough, I played on version 4.5.2, which was right after Modern Day Part 2 was released, completing the adventure.
Yeah, the decline has gone by. PVZ is just gonna die if they can't get their act together. Like, PVZ BFM would probably explode more if we had all that finished content that never got released and stuff. Like, they just need to get their act together.
Mode. Why I did this will be discussed here shortly. For now though, here are my current and actual thoughts on Plants vs. Zombies 2. Let's start with the most controversial aspect of this game, the art style. I like it. I think it acts as a good evolution from the first game.
It's
I'll use the
great.
pea shooter as an example. Pea shooter, and really all of the plants in the original, had quite stiff looking animations. In PVZ 2, they really bring life to the characters more, with a more
and I think next year's going to decline even more. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure. Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon to you. When I'm done with the deal I have with another YouTuber, that will probably finish after a year if we do get it running. Then I'm probably going to leave PVZ, like content-wise. I may still play it, but I think content-wise may end after 2024.
Exaggerated look of a pea being shot out of the pea shooter's mouth. I highly suggest you watch The Art of Reanimating Plants vs. Zombies 2, where senior artist Mark Barrett talks about the struggles in making a game that came out just a few years ago feel completely brand new. The PVZ2 team had to tinker with the designs heavily on what they believed to be the perfect balance between new yet still feeling familiar. On a technicality level, you could argue PVZ2 exceeds in communicating a plant's design. The core three are the best example. The pea shooter has a much rounder, pea-shaped head. The sunflower is brighter and has a closer resemblance to that of an actual sun. The walnut, it just looks more like a nut. And sure, not all of the plants returning from the first game have a perfect uplift. The mushroom plants look really good, though plants like jalapeno, tall nut,
absolutely disgusting.
I find they generally had a worse transition.
It looks better than before.
Though the game likes to flex its style when tying it back to the theme. Time travel is the game's main theme, and I'm mixed. On the one hand, the artists really went all out, on the backgrounds especially. They're rich with detail, and the artists did a great job adapting the different environments to fit the theme. And just being able to give each zombie, even down to the basic zombie, a fresh coat of paint visually makes playing each world feel much more distinct. A great example is the flag zombie in Wild West, wielding a Texas-inspired flag. CGP Grey would be proud. Time travel and how it connects to the gameplay, well,
I gotta go play with my brother on Lego Batman. Okay, have some fun. Hey, can I join VC? Can you join VC? You could, we're gonna move along with a, at least fast pace, since I want to get, where's BFN? We have Battle for Nearville right here. Okay, wait, then what's all this other stuff? Oh, dang. Oh, that's a lot. Okay. Yeah, you can join. I can, Okay, you can. I am inviting you.
Get into it. The gameplay in PVZ2 is similar to the first game, but expanded upon, which is what I would want in a sequel. For one, there are more levels, like a lot more. Each world has roughly 25 to 30 levels, give or take, but boy are there just way too many levels. The overabundance of levels feels like padding more than anything else. I appreciate the inclusion of clear conditions. The game calls them brain busters, which I never knew until
Good morning.
But
good afternoon.
Has the same clear conditions. I hope you like protecting endangered plants 3 times per world, but then again, the argument for variation can go the other way. Sometimes they introduce things too quickly. Pirate Seas is the best example. They add the barrel roller zombie on day 7, the pirate captain zombie on day 9, and the imp cannon on day 10. The imp cannon is the last zombie exclusive to this world, and there are still 15 more levels. Speaking of levels, the level design in this game is inconsistent, or just garbage. An example of lazy design is in Jurassic Marsh. Day 29 is a survive with the given plants level. They use some of the Jurassic plants. Great, how fitting since we're in Jurassic Marsh, I hear you saying. Do you want to know what they did for day 31? It's literally the same idea, except they tacked on 2 more plants. PopCap, someone seems to have made an egregious error. I wouldn't be making this such a big deal if it weren't for the fact that the levels are so close. Also, the level is just missing a flag in the level progression, which definitely is not right. The main issue people have with the levels is the difficulty, and yep, it's terrible. The difficulty is all over the place. The most famous example is Big Wave Beach Day 16, but not enough attention gets thrown onto Wild West Day 16. How are you supposed to handle this? The screen is filled to the brim with zombies. This goes into the greater idea that PVZ2's gameplay is much faster, having both a 50 sun meta and zombie hordes are much faster and more aggression in the number of zombies. The speed is absurd sometimes. There are plenty of levels where you place down like 3 plants and the game goes, uh-oh, I hope you planted enough for the first flag. To compensate for this aggressiveness, the game introduces power-ups and for any new viewers, this is a bit of an inside joke, but I'll say it one last time. If you don't like them, then don't use them! With the topic of both difficulty and power-ups brought up, it begs the question, is PVZ2 pay to win? This is a complicated question because it depends.
Is it pay to win?
Well, in my opinion, don't cancel me first of all. In my opinion, yes. Look all the premium plants that are. In Plant vs. Zombies 1, there are a lot of plants that were free to use because the game wasn't, microtransaction stuff. But that plants in PVZ2, you need money, real money, to get them. And some levels are really, really fucked up. So you may need some help about that plant. So yeah, that's like
and you can purchase like a bunch of seed packets for plants to promote them to really high level, which then like allows plants to like one-shot zombies.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So in my opinion, yes, it's pay to win.
On your definition of pay to win. Pay to win usually comes in 2 forms. You can unlock something early that would typically require grinding, or some kind of item/aid that makes the game easier. Critics of calling PVZ2 pay to win will point out that you can beat the base game without spending a single penny. You know what? I agree, because that's exactly what I did. Yeah, that's right. I'm an epic PVZ gamer. But this argument falls flat once you realize this argument can apply to most games. In Clash Royale, you can technically grind and work up the leaderboard without paying a penny. It will take a considerably long amount of time, of course, but you also still need skill. No amount of gemming to upgrade your cards will save you. The infamous Star Wars Battlefront 2, with its loot box system, can be analyzed here. If you bought enough loot boxes, you could get better and more sought after characters like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. But does that give anyone an advantage? Just because I got it earlier, everyone technically has the opportunity to unlock the characters I just got. Even Candy Crush, the king of mobile gaming, the later levels are incredibly tough and usually have players losing by 1 or 2 turns. You can beat the game and usually most mobile games without paying. This is an oddly philosophical question. The problem is that people judge a game as being pay to win based on how much they push it, or at least that's what I've concluded. Now let's jump back into PVZ2. Unlike all the games I just described, the one thing that separates PVZ2 apart is that you have to buy plants. They are forever locked behind the paywall. There's no getting around it. So inherently, someone purchasing a premium plant is getting an experience.
Dude. Yeah, $6. Like originally, I remember like 2 years ago it used to be 5, but since inflation's been going up, it's been becoming more. Like yeesh.
And a free-to-play player.
Why EA stop making and under exploding PVZ2 and then make a real Garden Warfare 3? That would be better.
Yes.
Wouldn't be able to enjoy. And certain premium plants like Grape Shot and Cold Snapdragon are outright better versions of comparable free plants. Please tell me one reason why someone should pick Snapdragon over Cold Snapdragon. The other thing people don't consider is that while you may be able to beat the game without spending a dime, you know who likely doesn't feel the same? Kids. Do you know how accomplished I felt when I beat the original Plants vs. Zombies? It is not a hard game. Really piss easy by my standards today, but little Danneray didn't know any better and thought it was a colossal feat to beat level 3-4. There are times in this game when the levels get ridiculously hard. The game provides a solution to curve that difficulty through in-game power-ups and premium plants. For all the games I described before, the argument for them being pay to win was providing a vantage point for people to make the game easier. Players can bypass the time or effort to overcome such difficulties or disadvantages that are usually intentional game design decisions. I personally think these 3 games are pay to win, so where does that leave Plants vs. Zombies 2? I have to say, yes. It's not an answer many of you will like, but by using examples of other games being classified as pay to win, PVZ2 checks all of those same boxes. In short, the game sells you tools, that being plants, that can only be unlocked through microtransactions, and many of these plants are some of the best in the game, making the game easier. So while the game may be full of pay-to-win systems, what the game is lacking is some charm. Remember the minigames of the first game? It added so much content and variety, shaking up the regular gameplay. PVZ2 has some unique minigames special to each world, and they're pretty good. I like them. My issue is that there aren't that many of them. After Big Wave Beach, they just stopped caring about coming up with unique minigames. Worlds like Lost City and Neon Mixtape Tour have nothing. There was a certain quirkiness in the first game that, haha, yeah, this minigame has portals because we felt like it. I don't understand how a tiny team came up with 20 minigames and a full studio can't come up with more than 6. It's not like all the charm is lost. I mean, Zoink Scoob, Pirate Sea's Day 8 has a Jaws reference in its dialogue. The final thing I want to discuss regarding the gameplay is the worlds. Ancient Egypt. It's okay. It acts more like a tutorial world, and it's just there. I love the theming, but they don't use it very well. Explorer Zombie looks like he'd fit more in Lost City. Pirate Seas, pretty solid. The levels were fun. I think this world gets slept on. Nothing is inherently wrong with it. Wild West, Creeps 20, listen up. I don't like this one. I've always thought this was the weakest of the 3 original worlds, and I don't know why. It's an opinion I held when I was 9 playing this game, and I felt the same way here. The minecarts are probably the best board mechanic though. Far Future, this one is also pretty fun. It took a while to come out, but I won't judge. Dark Ages, underrated as hell. The 20 levels are a perfect length. It feels like it doesn't overstay its welcome, and visually, I think the artist did the best here. Necromancy isn't always fair though, and the metal spam isn't very fun. Subtle foreshadowing for Big Wave Beach. It can be described in one word. Dumb. The levels are awful. The waves come way too fast, and low tide will wipe all your defenses. This is also the first world with 32 levels, and it just drags on way too long. Frostbite Caves, boring. Just boring. There are too many conveyor belt levels. Lost City. I think the influence of the Mayan and Aztec societies is quite cool. Though the inspiration only appears in the background, I have no idea how Excavator Zombie and Parasol Zombie have anything to do with this period. I also don't think the gimmick of the...
What? Okay.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Excavator
I'm not
Zombie?
gonna say anything. Wait, what?
Bro, Excavator Zombie, if you're excavating like ruins here, like that uses a shovel. And for the lady zombie, I'm pretty sure there's like a movie reference or something to that.
I'm not gonna say anything about that.
AKA torture? Yes, it is torture.
This world works from a zombie perspective. The main idea is that the excavator zombie can only be attacked from up top, and the parasol zombie can only be attacked horizontally, no lobbing projectiles. The problem is that if you only have excavator zombie, then you're just gonna bring lobbing and pulp plants. If you only have parasol zombie, well, no need to really change your strategy. The game decides to include them in every level, which means you go into every level with the same situation. Neon Mixtape Tour. The Zomboss battle
Love
sucks.
that one.
The levels felt really rushed. The gimmick of having the music correspond to activating specific zombie abilities could have been used more effectively. Jurassic Marsh, easily the worst world. The dinosaurs are the main attraction, which means bye-bye to new zombies. I hope you like seeing this new zombie base used in 3 other worlds. The dinosaurs are too hard to handle. Modern day. It's a great idea, just poorly executed. The concept of portals is excellent, having zombies from other worlds spawn randomly. Do you know how many times they use it?
9 times.
The last time they used it is on day 21.
5.
Why? Did they just forget that portals exist or something? The only real highlight is Football Zombie, as he comes in fast and kills the first plant he tackles. And arguably more insultingly of all, the music. The obvious would be that fans have made much better versions by including more of the other worlds as instruments. In the base game, it just relies on instruments from like half the worlds. But the Graze the Roof remix, McConnell, you've done us so dirty. Remember the best part of Graze the Roof? Here, I'll just play it for you. I hope you weren't expecting to hear that remix because he just cut it out. What a shame. The There's a Zombie on Your Lawn remix is pretty good though. I just feel really sad whenever I think about modern day. Now, while that covers most of my playthrough, I mentioned that I played an older version of the game at the start of this section. This is because PVZ2 had some rocky development when it came to losing key staff members. According to this VentureBeat article, just 1 month after the game came out, General Manager Alan Murray, Art Director David Ryan Paul, and Lead Designer Mohan... crap, I don't know how to read that name, guys. All left. Those are some key positions, and the people that replace those roles can completely change the game's direction. And so, I ask you to join me on a dark path. A path that leads straight to PVZ2 and its modern state.
Nice ad. I will bully it. I will get it.
No.
Why not? Modern Plants vs. Zombies 2.
Playing Plants vs. Zombies 2 today is a remarkably worse experience. They should give awards for this stuff. First off, the leveling system. You know, it's funny. Many say, the leveling system sucks, but I don't need to explain why because you can guess that already. I'll tell you why the leveling system is awful in every way. In Plants vs. Zombies, consistency is a core element not often considered. Most players know that 10 Ps from a pea shooter kill a basic. Generally, people will start to get a feel for how tanky zombies are and how powerful plants are. With the leveling system, you can throw that out the window. I hope you like just jacked up stats across the board. I tried playing a Big Wave Beach level with really basic powered plants. I felt like I didn't even have to try. This is when I feel like people started to throw hands about the microtransactions, and I totally understand. It feels manipulative. And of course, the only way to upgrade your plants is through seed packets, which are usually only obtained randomly through piñatas. Guys, these are really colorful looking loot boxes. I hate how in their announcement video, they specifically say,
one of the things that we really want to do with this update is encourage diversity in the builds that you are bringing.
In execution, that statement isn't true. To level up plants, you have to spend your hard-earned coins. Since there are so many plants in the game, you're realistically only going to focus on upgrading a handful of plants and sticking with those plants, thereby totally eliminating the free choosing power that the franchise was built off of. This is further worsened by a new mode they added, Arena. Arena takes all the fun out of Plants vs. Zombies. Doesn't that seem great? How the game mode works is that you get points for killing zombies. You get more points for killing zombies farther and toward the right of the map. Players are randomly assigned an opponent, and the person with the highest score wins. The idea of going against another person sounds good to me. I love the original versus mode on the console ports, despite losing tragically to Shy Guy Mask. The catch here is that you're actually going against ghost data of a random person. So you might as well be going up against a random number generator that puts up a score for you to beat. The main issue with this mode is that to do well, you have to resort to using, that's right, premium plants! And not just premium plants, but upgrading them to such a degree that you barely see the zombies in the game struggle to spawn them fast enough for you to kill. Is this like fun. If you're so overpowered in this mode that the gameplay consists of you spamming plant food with random stuff flying across the screen, what's the point? We talked about pay to win a little bit ago. This mode is the definition of pay to win. If you want to do well and win, you'll be fine if you use Electric Pea, Cold Snapdragon, Mega Gatling Pea. This mode is awful. I hated playing it for this video, and whether you're underpowered using level 1 plants or overpowered using maxed out premium plants, it felt boring either way. My soul was sucked out of all its fun when playing this godforsaken mode. The other mode the geniuses at PopCap have added is Penny's Pursuit. Every week, there are 5 levels players can play. You can play these levels to fill up the ZPS meter. Filling it up allows us to fight Dr. Zomboss to earn rewards.
Cool.
Now the key here is that there are 3 varying levels of difficulty. I'd like to point out the crudely traced PVZ-1 looking jalapeno, even though they should have used the PVZ-2 jalapeno design. The difficulty options are problematic, as the game has decided to introduce zombie leveling. I hope you like your level 1 squash not being able to kill a conehead. This goes back to why the leveling system is an awful idea, as instead of introducing zombies that are bigger threats, the developers can play around with the stats and make zombies nearly unkillable unless you upgrade your plants. By the way, zombies like the Roman and Z-Corp zombies are exclusive to this mode and will not get their own traditional adventure world. This mode is also pay to win, which seems almost useless because if you have good enough plants to complete the higher difficulty options, you probably don't need the rewards. Also, this mode introduces its own currency acting as an energy system. Yuck. There's one last addition regarding modes. There are seasonal events that correspond with a holiday or something. I played during the Summer Nights event. It's fine. They create some new levels featuring zombie designs for the respective event. They're pretty easy, which is a nice change of pace from the insanity that is Penny's Pursuit. Though in one of the levels, Duck Tube Zombie appeared and marked off another square on your Nostalgia Bait bingo board. Speaking of Nostalgia Bait, I hate this. PVZ2's primary way of adding content is by including more premium plants. Hooray! There are so many now, it seems impossible to keep up. As the game's life has gone on, boy does it show that a completely different team is...
should stop adding so many plants to Plant vs. Zombie 2.
It's the only way why it's being kept alive, though.
But EA should stop putting all the plants that they come from their mind in PVZ 2 and...
Okay, have a good night, Galaxy Flower.
Huh?
I'm just saying good night to Galaxy Flower.
Oh, good night. Sweet dreams.
Working on this game. I mean, just look at...
Yes, I'm probably going to post a video to the part where I get absolutely mad at this dude for shaming BFN. So...
Wait, who?
This guy, the guy that is speaking on the video.
I don't get it.
Buttercup, her animations are so stiff looking. The art style is all over the place with some of these plants. The worst offender has been the recent addition of Scaredy Shroom, which doesn't even look close to belonging in this game. There are fan designs that look leagues better than the official PVZ2 design. They've also adopted a new system where you can't buy them outright. You need enough seed packets. To get enough seed packets, you either have to grind or spend tens of hundreds of dollars on random drops to get enough seed packets. And by the way, when you get 250 seed packets, that's just to unlock it. It's still at level 1. The usefulness of some of these plants is all over the place. Scaredy Shroom, hot garbage. Go watch this video. Others, like Mega Gatling Pea, are brain-dead broken plants. PopCap just keeps pumping them out, and I don't get why. Enough people are spending money on this game to keep the updates coming through. Guys, there are nearly 200 plants in this game, Jesus Christ. There are also just some odd random changes to the game that I don't quite get. I played a handful of levels in adventure mode and they felt way easier. Ancient Egypt seemed almost brain dead and like an even slower tutorial world. Other worlds felt way shorter and just easier. They changed the almanac, which I understand considering how many plants there are, but it loses a lot of the charm. I don't feel like I'm reading an almanac, it feels like I'm reading pages of stats and descriptions. They just recently changed the fonts, which it looks like when you Google Translate something and it gives you basic fonts that look out of place. Was this a priority? It sticks out like a sore thumb. This last change they did a while ago, but the ultimate battle and demonstration themes of each world, the unique minigames a handful of worlds had, yeah, you can toss those all out. Modern PVZ 2 is just really sad. It's incredibly grindy and pushes its microtransactions much harder. The adventure mode has been completely neglected for what seems like the nearly impossible Penny's Pursuit and pay-to-win arena. So to round out, is PVZ 2 a good game? That is entirely a difficult question to answer. Plants vs. Zombies 2 does exactly what I want out of a sequel in many regards. It expands upon the first game's gameplay by introducing new mechanics, whether it be a board mechanic like minecarts or plant food. While controversial, its updated art style definitely brings the game new life with smoother and brighter visuals. On the other hand, the level design is so poor.
I will say, PVZ Reflourished has us handled, okay? They're gonna give us actually quality updates.
Yeah, Bassett. Yeah.
Poor, with either metal spam
to this good man.
Or waves coming in way too fast. I feel like a lack of direction from the right people contributed to this game's demise, and other influences, which we'll discuss much later. Take senior artist Mark Barrett, who was challenged to push the limits and strive to create something great. His philosophy and how he explains things is fascinating. I highly recommend reading up on him. Modern PVZ 2 feels obligated to shove down microtransactions much more aggressively. The areas in which PopCap continues to update the game seems trivial. Plants vs. Zombies 2 is a good game. It's different in what it aims to offer, though talking about PVZ 2 as a game is a bit vague considering how much it's changed over the years. I find it inferior to the original, but that doesn't mean other people can't come in and pick up the pace. The popular mod Reflourished has been getting a lot of buzz recently, and am I going to play it? No, so I'll avoid that firestorm. But for what it is, Plants vs. Zombies 2 is a competent follow-up to a beloved game, and from the very start, the team had some huge shoes to fill. Interestingly, right around the launch of PVZ 2, PopCap had another ace up their sleeve, which was a massive shock to everyone.
After last month's massive solar flare added a 25th hour to the day, businesses are wondering, what should we do with it?
Bro, you should use Raid.
At E3 2013, to the song Tear It Up by The Cramps, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare was announced. Only 4 years we went from this to this. PopCap Vancouver would be behind this project, and you know what that means? Justin Trudeau! Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare was a radical shift, and the marketing leaned on it hard. The promotional material gave all the characters such a grittier look. The game tried to invoke a serious tone, yet still had the goofy nature that Plants vs. Zombies was known for. Make no mistake, this is not a Battlefield-like game with a PVC skin. This is its own separate entity. Garden Warfare presents 4 plant and zombie classes to choose from: the pea shooter, sunflower, chomper, and cactus for the plants, and the foot soldier, engineer, scientist, and all-star for the zombies. In addition to the classes, each class offered different variants to put a twist on the character they were based on. Most variants still kept some core features of the class they were based on. For example, the pea shooter variant still involves splash damage, unless you are a Chad like me who plays Agent P. There are 2 main modes, multiplayer and garden ops. Multiplayer is your standard 12v12 multiplayer action. The standouts are Team Vanquish, where the first team to 50 kills wins, and Gardens and Graveyards, a base capturing mode where the plants defend gardens and the zombies try to capture them. Multiplayer is a lot of fun, and it blew my mind that I got in full lobbies on PC in this game in 2023. The controls are tight, and all the different variants constantly make the fights fresh. The second mode is Garden Ops, and this is a guilty pleasure of mine. Many people complain that there isn't much variation, it's the same every time. There is a bit of truth in those claims. This mode resembles the original game more closely, as you fend off waves of zombies while protecting a garden. The game will send many smaller zombie heroes, and even certain bosses. The general format doesn't change, which is a fair complaint. However, Plenty of special ways introduce either win conditions for extra cash or a unique set of zombies that get sent out. Playing this mode on a hard or crazy difficulty is a real challenge and is always chaotic. Play this mode with some friends and you'll get a run for your money. This was my favorite mode as a kid, but I can understand why people may not be super into it. While I was, and still am, a big fan of Garden Ops, what it represents and the rest of the game is a love letter to the series that 100% respects the source material. An element I don't see get analyzed enough is the music. Guys, it's absolutely amazing. Plenty of songs have a military marching band kind of feel, which could be a reference or inspired by Moongraze's Horde theme in the first game. The recreation of the Rich Warner art style was great, whether at the end of Team Vanquish or the different character icons for the boss slots. The adaptation of many series elements into fundamental mechanics was genius. Take Pea Shooter as an example. The Chili Bean Bomb and Pea Gatling reference both the Chili Bean and Gatling Pea. I have to say it again, but this feels like a Plants vs. Zombies game, which is saying a hell of a lot considering they made the funny looking Chomper into a killer walking Jaws looking creature. Though this game isn't without its faults. The amount of content is lacking for the most part. This is unfortunate because all you're left with is multiplayer. And on the topic of Garden Ops, you can only play as plants. The zombies simply could not be played as much. Even in gardens and graveyards, you were never defending as the zombies. Only zombies could invade and play offense. It felt like there was a slight bias toward the plants in this game. But overall, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare was an extremely fun, fresh take on the shooter genre, and it would only get better with
seeing my car for the first time. I knew I needed to have it. It needed some
Garden Warfare 2. Woo!
Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 is a game that deserves the number 2 next to its name. We've established that the first game was great, but had room for improvement. There was a lack of content, no single player offering, the leveling system sucked, among other things. PopCap looked at all of this and addressed these issues and more. I won't discuss this game in an overanalyzed way as come on, it's Garden Warfare 2. Everybody, including your grandma, knows this game is great. Garden Warfare 2 expanded the series' scope, adding more variants, more ways to play, etc. They changed the right amount and focused their time on the right areas. For example, all the game modes from Garden Warfare 1 returned, but this is fine. The game modes in that game were already varied, and the multiplayer was fun. Plus, the new maps and variants already make the experience feel vastly different, despite the lack of substantial changes to the multiplayer. I'd argue the biggest shakeup to the multiplayer is the inclusion of 3 new classes for each side. On the Plants side, we have the Citron, a tankier character who utilizes a beam.
Not a tank, he's a hit and run character.
As his primary, and generally has a lot of tools at his disposal. The Colonel Corn is the Plants' foot soldier, which is totally fine. He's a fun character in his own right, except every Garden Warfare 2 player can tell you that simply spouting the words Husk Hop will trigger Vietnam flashbacks. And finally, the Rose, which PopCap tried to make as a support character, except they gave her primary aimbot. So is it really a support character? On the zombies, we have
it's not a support character.
My personal favorite, Captain Deadbeard, the zombie sniper class. He has a long-range sniper glass and a close-range shotgun. I think this character is a ton of fun to use. Super Brains is a fan favorite, and it's easy to see why. His zany design pairs well with his crazy playstyle, being a melee class. And finally, the Imp, a small but fast character. He's got the lowest amount of health, but PopCap also gave him a double jump. Good luck trying to kill this guy. Overall, the new additions are great, even though you could argue new additions like Captain Deadbeard and Colonel Corn aren't the most original feeling characters, being similar to Cactus and Foot Soldier in certain regards. I appreciate both factions having similar playing characters. It makes flipping between them more enjoyable. In discussing the different sides having similar class types, they've evened out the playing field and allowed players to equally play as plants and zombies. This was a major criticism I had toward the first game. Only being able to play Garden Ops as plants was an unfortunate restraint. This was actually the first thing they told the world they would address, announcing the game by showing off Graveyard Ops, the zombies' version of Garden Ops. In addition, Gardens and Graveyards has been replaced with Turf Takeover, now having maps where zombies defend. Finally, a perfect world where I can play marine biologist in any situation. If you want to talk more about meaningful changes, well, there are plenty of them. Gone is the simplistic menu of Garden Warfare 1. Instead, PopCap has crafted an entire hub world for you to explore and house anything a regular menu would hold. Welcome to the Backyard Battleground, a treat to simply play around in. There's a ton to explore, or you can just mess around with your friends. Yeah, that's right, Yexton, you suck doo-doo at this game. Inside the backyard contains a single-player campaign, which is okay. It's there. It's nothing remarkable, but it's better than nothing. Explore down to the sewers to participate in some fun target shooting minigame and even whoa! So Garden Warfare 2 decided to take a bold move and add lore. Guys, it's Woodrow Wilson time. In base Garden Warfare 2, after completing the single-player campaign, a mode known as Infinity Time unlocked, which was an endless gauntlet against gnomes. It's cool how the gnomes are treated as these mysterious and all-powerful beings. But down in the sewers, things take a big leap when entering this gnome dimension. This was part of a DLC update called Trials of Gnomus, and this was the greatest thing, man. This update was a perfect mix of single-player and multiplayer. Single-player-wise, you could explore this new dimension and tackle unique challenges leading up to an amazing reward at the end. Multiplayer-wise, we got the Mystery Portal, which introduced new weekly game modes. I loved this update. I remember the trailer they made alongside the release and people were jumping out of their seats. Yes, PopCap, give me more, they said. Now, while I love this game, it's not perfect. People in the PVZ community put this game on a pedestal and act like it's the greatest thing God has ever created. And that's totally fine. But I think it's like a 9 out of 10. The maps are definitely a downgrade. Not bad, but Garden Warfare 1's maps were simply just so perfect. I'm also not a fan of Garden Warfare 2's art direction as much. I still think the game looks great, but look how cool Plasma P looked in the first game, and he just nah.
For real.
Also, well, I know this will sound like the nitpickiest of things, but I have never liked the planified look of the UI. I understand that part of this game's theme was putting more of an evil twist to the plants with the introduction of weeds and stuff, but I never really understood it. This also goes for the ability icons. The more traditional artistic illustration looks cool, but I do prefer the 3D look of Garden Warfare 1. And on the topic of looks, cosmetics were just much better in Garden Warfare 1. In this game, they're just fine. In Garden Warfare 1, there were just some awesome looking stuff. Right now, it might seem like I'm splitting hairs, but I don't want to detract that Garden Warfare 2 is a fantastic sequel that improved the first game in nearly every way, expanding the player base and proving that Plants vs. Zombies could work in many different forms. PopCap Vancouver was swimming in praise and money as copies of Garden Warfare 2 flew off the shelves. So what was PopCap Seattle up to?
PVZ Heroes.
Plants vs. Zombies Heroes was PVZ's first mobile spin-off, not counting PVZ Adventures. If you've never heard of this game, I don't blame you. PVZ Heroes came and went with little to no fanfare. That's not to say the game has no fans, but this is an interesting case study. PopCap likely assumed they could slap PVZ on anything and it would sell, while in execution, that's not close to what happened. Seriously though, what is PVZ Heroes all about? PVZ Heroes is a strategic card game that puts the plants and zombies against each other in some typical PVZ.
He can put EA thinks that they can put Plants vs. Zombies in everything.
No, I don't think that, but I think that's like an assumption he is saying. Hello, Redfire.
PVZ hijinks. Each playable character are superheroes, a sort of unique version of certain plants and zombies. That's why you can have a pea shooter on the field with this weird looking feller on the bottom. The hero you choose dictates two things. One is the types of cards you can have, which are all divided into classes. Each class usually has some kind of general theme, but it's a loosely defined theme. The second thing each hero has are unique superpowers. The superpowers are usually much more powerful cards in proportion to their cost, but I'm getting ahead of myself. What does an actual round look like? Like any card game, you'll have a starting hand, and the goal is to get your opponent's health down to 0. Now each card has unique attributes. Many of them are visually shown by specific modifiers, and I must admit, all the graphics they made for a handful of reoccurring abilities are incredible.
What are those two? I have never seen those two right there.
Me neither. Dude, I forgot I was going to say. I wanted to play Plants vs Zombies Heroes on my old phone, but it wasn't compatible, so I just downloaded an AFK, and my phone died. But now I can play it normally, so that's good. That's good.
Okay, we're going to BFN. Sorry, after this, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, there will be a lot of things here.
Oh no.
I mean, BFN is a good game, but they messed it up a lot of things.
I'm a true BFN supporter, so I'm gonna go ham on them after this one.
Oh, can I join too?
Incredibly nice looking. Overall, the game is constructed in a clean and easily digestible way. The plants and zombies take turns placing down their cards, each adding an extra sun or brain for each player to spend. It's an easy and intuitive system, and the number of cards in this game adds variety. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of decks people could form. You could base a whole deck around one card or try to maximize the synergies of multiple cards. Options is definitely something this game isn't missing, and with options comes skill. This game is a great example of easy to learn, hard to master, a core principle of the first game. A common criticism of this game is the over-reliance on luck, which I'm indifferent to. A game like this should have certain RNG elements, and while certain cards are more reliant on RNG, I find that the battles are much more interesting with the amount of crazy stuff happening. I do have one massive complaint with PVZ Heroes, and that was its update cycle. To keep a game fresh like this, it's crucial to introduce new cards and change the stats of cards so the meta doesn't feel stale. The game launched in October 2016, and it wouldn't be until June 2017
PVZ2 is the best. Honestly, bro, BFN is the GOAT. I'm just saying. You can say whatever you want. I'm just saying BFN's the GOAT.
Don't forget Garden Warfare 2. Don't forget. That's my.
Oh, that game sucks compared to Garden Warfare and compared to BFN. Anyways.
How do you dare to blame Garden Warfare? Sorry. Just resume the video. Give me a sec.
that we get the first major expansion, Galactic Gardens. This was a space-themed set of 100 new cards. This was a significant update. It added a brand new card type called Environments, 2 new heroes, and new gimmicks. In October 2017 and January 2018, we'd receive sets 3 and 4, Colossal Fossils and Triassic Triumph. This is where our troubles begin. For one, I'm not really a fan of the dinosaur theme. I already think Jurassic Marsh was the worst world in PVZ2, and they were doubling down here. Second, the fact that they split them into 2 was really frustrating. It made the releases feel less substantial and broken up, now having to invest in more sets. My second complaint was the over-reliance on existing cards or reusing animations. An easy example is Puff Shroom, derived from Shroom for 2, or how about the Half Banana, which just comes from the death cards of Banana Split. In fact, for both Colossal Fossils and Triassic Triumph, 12 out of the 15 commons are repurposed cards in some way or another. If they don't reuse cards, they'd use existing cards as a base and the same animations. They actually did this in Galactic Gardens.
Not really, but almost, because I was eating some food, then I was just starting to raw, and I just get stuck for some seconds. So.
I hope you feel better.
Yeah, I drink some water.
But bro, this man's dissing on PVZ Heroes. There's nothing wrong with PVZ Heroes. Like, what the heck?
But I can excuse that one a bit more, as they were few and far between in a set with plenty of cards. It was okay. When they reused card bases, they tried to hide it pretty well. For example, the Mustache Waxer is a reskinned Pool Shark, or the Blowgun Imp, which is a reuse of Loudmouth. It just made sets 3 and 4 feel even more uninspired. And, of course, they put all their resources into making the super rares and legendaries very unique and sometimes overpowered. Speaking of rarities, it was also during this time PopCap played around with a handful of card rarities. They took some of the best and most popular cards and increased their rarity, but after the release of set 4, nothing. Except for a single balance update in 2019, the game has been quietly abandoned. There really was no closure, and that was it for PVZ Heroes. This game was really a shame, as I quite like PVZ Heroes. It's not a perfect game, but I got into playing multiplayer and increasing my rank to open more packs and unlock more cards. It's probably one of my favorite mobile games, and that's the key. As a spin-off PVZ mobile game, this had...
Why do you know that? That is... okay. Really, bro?
Incredible work put into it. The background and characters are detailed, the game functions and works great. It's just a letdown that it was left to rot and die. So now, in our story, PopCap Seattle has its first rocky road, but surely the same wouldn't happen for PopCap Vancouver.
Our real enemy is time.
Dude, you're gonna get paid from this video. What?
Oh, we have BFN!
Oh my god.
You better say only good things, and if you say something bad, it better be reasonable.
Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville is the third and final game of the PVZ shooters, and it didn't go so well. I'll only briefly talk about this game since I did a review a while back, but I've replayed the game and have had some time to cogitate some more on the game. I can't remember where I heard this, but I swear the developers explicitly called out that this was not Garden Warfare 3, but instead its own thing. With that mindset, you're almost doomed to fail, because no matter how much you want to distance yourself from Garden Warfare, everybody will compare this game to the Garden Warfare games, and in that respect, Battle for Neighborville falls short in nearly every regard. Let's start with an easy one, removing variants. Remember Garden Warfare with its diverse cast of characters? What was
that were very unbalanced and made characters overpowered where no one will use them, and made characters overbalanced where then no one wants to use them, so you end up only using a select few characters that people only use.
Give me a sec.
Also, do we want to talk about how broken?
What's nice is that if you liked a particular class, you could play around with different variants. It made the game never feel stale. I feel like I'm in a gunfight with the same characters. Probably because I am. Even with that, many characters are just less fun to play. Citron and...
You say there's so much more diversity, although there's barely diversity. You can play Fire Chomper. That's the same with Toxic Chomper. It's just Toxic Chomper's worse. Like, you have, like, AC Parry is basically the exact same thing as Yeti Chomper. Like, you have characters that are almost exactly the same and don't change anything. Like, some characters don't even change anything at all, bro.
Bruh.
And now you're coming over here, dissing that these guys got upgrades that completely change everything. And legendary upgrades, but okay.
And Rose are a direct downgrade, and other characters feel
hold
fine,
up,
but aren't as fun.
Hold up. No, hold on. What did I just hear?
As I am. Even with that, many characters are just less fun to play. Citron and Rose are a direct downgrade.
What? Citron is a downgrade from BFN? What? So you're talking here how, let's compare normal Citron base to other Citron, okay? You're dealing how much? Like 10 damage, okay? And then you have a beam overheating. Okay, you can deal up to, there's no drop-off damage in BFN. You can do up to 400 damage with your gun. The shields in BFN are twice as stronger than Garden Warfare 2. Can be moved at any time. You have upgrades that can make him move extremely fast. You can make him have like super fast regen. You can like, how is that down? And then you're calling Rose a downgrade when a Rose can't even home across half of the map. Well, compared to Rose on this game, where she can hit across the map, her upgrades are twice as better, being team supportive. Same with Citron. Her abilities get amplified even more with upgrades, or her upgrades with the weapon itself, with like with Thistle missiles, locked and loaded, or time snare. This guy does not know what he's talking about.
And other characters feel fine, but aren't as fun. Also, this game could never be adequately balanced despite having fewer characters.
Your game isn't balanced. Stop talking.
Scientist wasn't just a good character, he was the best offensive character. He's a healer! Nightcap is basically the Plants' version of...
Okay, bud. You can play with Attack Scientist, but... Okay, I'm muting your soundboard, bud. I'm gonna have to mute your soundboard, bud.
Oh man.
You can have... Sure, you can be a Attack Sunflower. But... in the long run, if you're playing against an actual team, you aren't going so far, as you don't have that much. The only thing you have is really a nice teleport and a gun. That's like the only like offensive things you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing way better supporting your team and everything. And sure, you can attack, but there's just better options in that case, and you won't go so far if there's an actual good team.
And good luck killing. He's a healer. Nightcap is basically the Plants' version of Imp, and good luck killing her, despite...
She's easy to kill. There's one-shots with most characters and abilities, like 80s. You're able to see where she moves in the Shadow Sneak, since you can see it on the dark spots. Her abilities are loud, so you know how to know when to use your ability to duck out of Fung Fu. She is very easy to kill. She's easy to kill.
My brain just blowing up.
Yeah.
Despite the game being more straightforward at its core, problems always seem to come up. The next most controversial thing about this game is you're looking at it. The art style changes weird. I'm conflicted, as some characters like engineers and others like P.
Honestly,
engineer. Wait. Before the engineer looked that he's scratching his ass.
Okay, no, we're keeping it family friendly here. But the art style, if they're saying like, if you wanted to go like, how can we make a game goofy and silly? Like off of all the comics, all the games, off of everything. They did that. They made the art style. They did everything. And they did put lots of hard work in it. And it did pretty well in the art and everything. But you're comparing it off of Garden Warfare 2.
Shooter and Sunflower look good. Most, however, have a subtle downgrade, especially Rose. It makes me never want to play as her. Even Captain Deadbeard, his beard looks like it's made of plastic. I find the art style change unfortunate, as one of the original Garden Warfare's main draws was seeing these lovable and simple characters reimagined into a grittier and more gruesome setting. In BFN, they've done a complete 180, and I do not like it from that standpoint alone. Everything else follows similar footsteps in the disappointment category. category. A big selling point of this game was the improved single player, which is a double-edged sword. For one, the maps the story missions take place in are filled with way more to do and secrets to find. It's an improvement over Garden Warfare 2's single player, but the issue is that all 4 of the maps use the exact same structure. They have the same collectibles and the same sort of objectives you'll be asked to do. It's hugely draining. For my BFN review, I remember 100%ing 2 out of the 4 and then gave up on the others. Multiplayer is also negatively affected.
Okay.
On the surface level, all the issues about the lack of variance and how unfun the characters feel apply here. The maps greatly disappointed me as they all...
The maps are not disappointing. The only thing that's disappointing is you can't get on that much stuff. But this is a team-based game, and it's not a, hey, let me just run like super far back and then do my own thing, like 5v1ing people because I have good aim. Like, it's a team-based game.
All feel incredibly generic. The map design is too open, meaning certain characters are more equipped, or you could just camp your way to getting vanquishes. When talking about ops, ouch! I've mentioned already I'm a pretty big fan of ops, and it's just bad in this game.
It is bad. It would have been better if we had Ops Phase 3.
The biggest problem is the lack of a difficulty selector, which means this mode is piss easy. Second, it just generally feels unfinished. People complained that Ops didn't change much gameplay wise. Well, let me introduce you to BFN Ops. And that's the worst problem with this game. It felt unfinished. It seems like PopCap spent all this time completely redesigning.
It is unfinished. You couldn't tell?
Designing everything from scratch, and when it came to actually making the game, everyone panicked and BFN was the final product. Directionless is the best way to describe this game. From my perspective, it seems like EA wanted this game to be their highly marketable live service game, evident by the fact they pushed the outfits way more in this game through the use of rucks, selling costumes for real world money. The game has the most detailed and coolest looking skins in the whole franchise, though as the game's life went on, it seemed like the focus was being put more on the purchasable outfits. BFN came out at a horrible time, when every company tried to push their live service game. It didn't help that BFN wasn't good, and just 1 year after launch, BFN would cease development on all future content updates, and that would be the last of BFN. Surely, PopCap Seattle is totally fine.
Okay.
Plants vs. Zombies 3 is infamous, to say the least. This game put me on the radar for YouTube, and is why I'm here today. So I feel I have a responsibility to take another look at the game that started my career. If you look back at my...
So we've gone through 57 minutes. We'll go through the rest to the 1 hour mark, and then we'll stop it from there.
My original PVZ3 review, it's pretty close to the definition of garbage. I was 14 at the time, editing everything on KineMaster. Everything was going against me. Unfortunately, just like PVZ Adventures, we can no longer play this game, so talking about it will mostly be me revisiting footage. However, I did play a lot of it in 2020, so at least I've had experience with it. Don't consider this a definitive review or analysis. Instead, I'd like to discuss why PVZ3 does not feel like a Plants vs. Zombies game. Spoiler alert, if you thought my tune would change regarding this game, you're surely mistaken. The most pressing issue is, again, you're looking at it, BFN had problems with its visuals, but it's not an awful looking game. Environments and models have detail, just the general art direction and the character design aren't my favorites. While in PVZ3, everything is ugly from top to bottom. I don't really understand what happened. Plenty of concept art looks good, but when the models were actually made for the game, everything went wrong. I simply think it has to do with the limits of 3D on mobile. You must sacrifice a certain level of detail for the game to run on various devices. The result is blocky and unnatural looking models. I also find the texturing to be bland and soulless. If you go to EA's website, there's a Q&A section when they announced the release of the soft launch. They stated, "We love the 2D art from the original games, but wanted to provide our brand with more flexibility and artistic opportunities for the future. We've got plans, folks." I honestly don't know what that means even 3.5 years later. Another area of contention, the orientation. They went from landscape to portrait mode and I do not see the point. If it's not evident already, PVZ3 feels a lot more like a mobile game than every other Plants vs. Zombies game that's come before it. Someone might mention that a portrait orientation is more attractive for people and it's easier to use. And this is actually the reason PopCap stated on EA's site. Developing the game with the portrait landscape in mind would be more phone friendly. I would still like to push back. Plenty of popular games, Clash of Clans and Brawl Stars, use landscape orientations and people are perfectly willing to play them. Even if you neglect the flawed rationale behind the decision, playing the game feels clunky. The board only takes up about 40% of the screen. The bottom, where you place your plants, is almost as big as where the action takes place. And the top has a lot of empty space, just holding some small icons. I hate how the UI takes up more space than where the game occurs. We've gotten this far without talking about the gameplay, and I can assure you it does not get any better. Everybody's favorite leveling up system from PVZ2 makes a return, except unlike it being tacked on later in the game's life like it was for PVZ2, they designed the whole game around it, and egad, it's awful. At least with plant leveling in PVZ2, it really only felt required in Arena and Penny's Pursuit, which are garbage game modes anyways, so who cares? In PVZ3, plant leveling is a core part of the game, as zombies also have their own leveling system. Instead of introducing new and challenging threats, the developers can inject artificial difficulty by halting your progression at a certain point. And so, what inevitably happens is you save all your coins to level up a couple of plants, hoping to God it's what you need to continue through the game. As the player unlocks new plants, they'll increasingly neglect new plants and experiment less and less because a level 1 plant will no way in hell combat against the higher leveled zombies. Progression in this game is dictated by the Devour Tower. This is how the game drip feeds content. Whether introducing new plants, buildings, or zombies, it's how the game unveils its contents. The caveat is that with the completion of each floor, the zombies would gain power. This means you'll stop at some point because the zombies become too powerful to handle. Outside of the Devour Tower are breakout battles. Breakout battles are more traditional PvZ levels that net you rewards. This is a cruel way of the game encouraging you to grind, as if you get stuck on a floor in the Devour Tower, all you can do is grind breakout battles. These fights aren't fun. They feel like randomly generated levels where the game just throws whatever zombies it feels like. Probably because that's exactly what it is. The gameplay loop of this game is monotonous as hell. And for the Devour Tower, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I think it's kinda dumb. They gave a skyscraper crab legs. Plants vs. Zombies 3 doesn't feel like a Plants vs. Zombies game, but the reason for that is because myself and many others are going into it comparing it to the first game, and even PVZ2. Despite being a mobile game, PVZ2 emerged when mobile gaming was vastly different. Once upon a time, mobile games were developed by smaller companies that utilized mobile hardware to create experiences that could only be done on the phone. Today, mobile games are led by people like Voodoo, who create the most bare bones and generic games ever made. But with the current mobile game market, that being everyone, these games have to keep people's attention for short bursts. So for PVZ3's case, many of the sacrifices made were likely decided to fit in better with these mobile games. I mentioned this in my original video, but the game structure takes a lot of inspiration from Clash Royale. I mainly commented on the menu layout, the shop, seed selection, overview map, clans, and arena. I've meant to clarify this point for 3 years now, but I initially called out how Arena is derived from a very similar mode from Angry Birds 2. It's a little more understandable in that game since achieving a high score is part of Angry Birds' design. Many people stated that I was incorrect because Angry Birds 2 came out in 2015 and PVZ2 came out in 2013. They added Arena in 2017. Get wrecked, random kid from the comments section. The Clash Royale comparisons go much deeper. People have pointed out that the Sunflower's auto-producing sun is reminiscent of the Elixir system. The new plants they do add are so off-putting. What was from an older PVZ game and what was made fresh for this game seems evident. Maybe they shouldn't have made nearly 200 plants for PVZ2. It's a shame that PVZ3 ended up the way it did, as looking at early concept art, there was a lot of love poured into it. It's clear that there was some desire to do either a 3D or 2.5D aesthetic. However, the world seemed significantly expanded, building on the characters and setting of PVZ. Interestingly enough, the ArtStation account containing all this art has been completely deleted. Huh. And so, you know the story by now. PopCap would shut down the servers in November, while at the same time, we saw this as maybe PopCap wanting to rebuild a couple of core elements of the game. In actuality, they would entirely scrap what they had and relaunch the project with new PVZ3. A little ironic, considering I said this in my original video.
I doubt they're going to dramatically change the game to the point of a rework. Yeah, no.
I still find this an odd change and stand by the fact that this is not regular business. Games getting completely reworked from the ground up is something we rarely see. Most companies are comfortable pushing out a sinking ship. Stranger is that when you actually step back and look at PVZ3, a lot of work was put into it. I'm not going to sit here and say it was all good, but looking at the behind the scenes for this game, it's clear that this was a massive project with tens, if not hundreds of employees behind it. We never even got to see everything, as data miners have uncovered tons, and I mean tons of content that never saw the light of day. It likely would have been in the game if they continued down the road they were on, but PopCap decided to start from scratch, so let's see what we're working with nowadays.
Here's what
and
most
it got
event
a little better, but yeah. Anyways, that will be it. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll probably turn this into a video. So see you later. Goodbye, Redfire, Rokush, Crack Foxy, Galaxy Flower, Cosmic Nova, and Brown Coat. And Fire Dragon, thank you for joining us. Nice, we're gonna play some BFN, like to hear it. And yeah, goodbye.